Hello, friends. Welcome in just past high noon. May I be the first to say a good afternoon. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. Happy Tuesday to you. Hope things are going well on this May 21, 2024. It is our episode 575 of these proceedings. It is also LFT 80. Mason, based on your experience on the show yesterday, do you recall what LFT means? LFT 80, Mason. LFT 80. That would be
for Trump.
Look at you, Mason. Look at Big Mason. It took you a second.
I paid attention.
Oh, you got it. Yeah, locks for Trump, number 80, as we continue to grow out our hair until we have a new president-elect.
Just for me. Just for me.
Thank you. Thank you, buddy. Mason flipping in for the vacationing Bell K. He's spending some time with his emotional support, Cobra. Mason will be screening your telephone calls and, generally speaking, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as humanly possible. I appreciate Mason's yeoman work. 615-737-9986 at the aforementioned telephone lines. Always good to turn a monologue into a dialogue, and I always appreciate the ability to talk to you. If you choose to go another route, you can also hit us up on the membersnutrition.com super text line. That is the same number, 615-737-9986. Always up, always running, and always available to you. There are other ways to engage in the show. You can go to the F&M Bank chat line on the Super Talk television side of things. More on that in a second. And you can also hit me up on social media platforms. I'm always available for you there at Matt Murphy Show on the X Machine. That's where I reside mostly. It's a cesspool full of awful rando people saying awful rando things, and I love it. X Machine at Matt Murphy Show. Follow me there, and I think you will enjoy it. Now, on the Super Talk television side of things, there's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and you're invited to be over there, and you can watch the proceedings as you listen. Thank you to U.S. Pest, bringing you our portion of the broadcast day. Good people over at U.S. Pest, and I'll tell you more about those guys later on today. J.K. and Eric are fine Americans, and I appreciate what they do for this country and for our community, and also F&M Bank is carrying forth the chat line. Lots to get into today, not the least of which the travesty that's going on in New York City. I don't know why I let it get to me, folks. I don't know why I let it get to me. I don't know why I should expect better. You know, our system of justice in the United States of America is horribly imperfect, but it is the best thing going, or at least if we demand it be. And what is happening in New York City is demonstrating the frailty of our system, any system, when we allow politics to infect and infuse itself into the judicial system in the way that it has in New York. This is a case that never should have been brought. This is an obvious case of the judicial branch of government attempting to impact and affect a future election in this country. And it's wrong. It's wrong. And I want to talk about it today. There is no better illustration or demonstration of how ill-conceived and mismanaged this trial has been from the beginning than the actions of Judge Juan Merchan this morning. Both sides on this Tuesday, May 21st, have now rested. Both sides have said all we need to say about the case. The prosecutors have not demonstrated a crime. Even if they were to demonstrate the connection between Trump and, quote, falsifying documents, that's not enough. Be smarter than the mainstream media treats you. And I know most of you are. Whether you agree or disagree with me, be smart about this and understand what's going on here. The mainstream media won't connect these dots. They begin and end with, did he falsify records to pay hush money to Stormy Daniels? That's not enough. That's not enough to bring the case. That's not enough to bring the felony. And it's not enough to convict Donald Trump. You have to not only prove that Trump was aware of and approved of and controlled the falsification, quote unquote, of the documents. One, you have to prove that that's a crime at all, and it's not. Number two, you have to prove that Donald Trump was aware of it, and you haven't. Number three, and most importantly, you have to demonstrate that that was done to commit or conceal another crime. And they have yet to present a single bit of evidence as to what that crime is. You literally have a defendant on trial who could go to jail for over 100 years. And that defendant, we are at closing arguments. I don't care who this is, Donald Trump, Mason Fleming, Matt Murphy, you, your family member. It's not about what they can do to him. It's about what they can do to you. I cannot reiterate this enough because it continues to flabbergast me that more has not been made of this. It is not enough to say that he tried to, quote, interfere with the election, which is what I've heard them say. You have to demonstrate what the specific nature of the crime was that he intended to conceal or to carry out. And all of these talking heads on all of these anti-Trump networks try to explain it away. It's not enough. You have to present it in court before a jury of your peers. And they've not done it. Throughout the entirety of the trial, they've not done it. Literally, they have not told the defendant what the defendant is on trial for. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. On this day where the defense rested, the prosecution has yet to put together the underlying crime that gives them the ability to bring this to court. That's one thing. What Juan Merchan did this morning is another thing. So today's Tuesday. And I understand that banks and the court system work on a slightly different schedule than most of us. Most of us, and I know that there are plenty of weekend warriors out there that work on Saturdays and Sunday, and God bless you, we appreciate you. But for the most part, America is a Monday through Friday kind of country, right? A lot of us, most of us, get a couple of days off on the weekend to recharge our batteries, spend time with family and friends. We understand that. But for the most part, we're working Monday through Friday. And if I told you that a case of this magnitude, with all of this impact, was finishing up at 10:20 in the morning Eastern time on a Tuesday morning, and they had all day Tuesday, and all day Wednesday, and all day Thursday, and all day Friday to do what they needed to do. The only things left in this trial, and most of you get it, you understand this, you follow the news as well as I do. But for those of you in Aniana, the prosecution has presented its case. The defense called Bob Costello, and that's about it. The defense has now rested. That means it's time for closing arguments. After closing arguments, the judge instructs the jury. They charge the jury. And then the jury gets the case. The judge, Juan Merchan himself, has said that he believes that it will take roughly a day to see closing arguments to fruition. He likes to see that on the same day. And then it will take him, he claims, about an hour to charge the jury. So you could do that in one day. Whether you want to start the process on a Tuesday afternoon or just wait until tomorrow morning bright and early, you can get everything else done in this trial and get it to the jury in one day. I want to know what your best guess is as to why he's not doing that. Juan Merchan, immediately when the defense rested, he said, okay, we're going into recess until next Tuesday. Meaning the jury will not get this case until at least Wednesday. 8 days. 8 days. Why? Why? The jury's not sequestered. The jury in no way is being prevented. They are admonished. They are told not to read the news or not to watch the news. They're told not to look on the internet about all of this. They're told not to talk to friends and neighbors about this. Do you think they do? There is only one reason to hold this like this. And he can talk about not wanting to get involved in the Memorial Day holiday all he wants. I can't fathom it. I know a lot of people in the legal system, or, I know my fair share. I've been on both sides of the legal game there, folks. I've been on this side of the jail cell and that side of the jail cell. I've been on this side of the courtroom and that side of the courtroom, okay? I've been a plaintiff and a defendant. I've never heard of this. Have any of you ever heard of this? You lawyers in the listening audience, call me and tell me. You have 3.5 perfectly acceptable days. Why would he do this? There's a reason why he's doing this. I think he's putting his thumb on the scale. It's pretty obvious to me what he's doing. You have a jury that is predisposed to hate Trump. Statistically, we know that. You have a prosecution that has failed at every turn to put on their case. And the only thing you can hope for is that the jury is nullified by public opinion. I think the judge is doing this to intentionally screw this case. I think he's doing this in an attempt to convince the jury over time, through news reports and otherwise, that they need to vote guilty. I just received a message from a judge. I will not say who, but thank you for listening, Your Honor. And the judge said this: in my years of trying cases, I've never had a judge continue closing. Now, understand, this is a judge, but previous to this was a district attorney. In my years of trying cases, I've never had a judge continue closing. My bleep, ASS, better be ready to go upon close of defense case and charge conference. If finished after 4 p.m., we would start the next morning. I had one judge who basically limited closing to about an hour. If I can't say it in an hour, then I don't need to say it, he said. Well, that's not what this judge is saying. It is inexplicable other than my rationale. I mean, I'm willing to listen to other rationale as to why the judge needs it. 1660 says maybe the judge needs the extra time to pull his head out of his ass. Oh, was I supposed to say that? Probably not. I'm sorry. It's the Libertarian lunchtime. I try to clean it up during the Libertarian lunchtime hour because, the youngsters might be listening, little pictures and all. My kids, my apologies. Don't be like Matt Murphy. Don't have a potty mouth like Matt Murphy. Matt Murphy's a bad man, and he says nasty things. And he's sorry. So that's Wilson's. You can't start pulling out Wilson's sound bites.
Hey, I work on multiple shows. All sound effects are valuable for me.
Well, I mean, that's between you and Brian. No, it is bull caca. There's no question. I've never seen it. I'll put a quick call into Jay to see if he might be available. Several of you are asking what Jay thinks about it. I think it's pretty obvious that Juan Merchan wants the jury to go home, wants the jury to forget about some of the testimony that Michael Cohen failed to testify on, wants them to lose sight of how they felt during that testimony, wants them to be influenced by family and friends that they're not supposed to be talking to, but we know what happens when they go home. They have 7 full days before they're going to hear from the court again. And there is no reason for it. The judge in the case, Juan Merchan, says, well, I don't like to do summary arguments on separate days. I don't like to split up my days. Well, then why not start first thing bright and early tomorrow morning? Here's what I also believe. I also believe that there is a psychological tendency, if the weekend is approaching, to want to wrap things up fairly quickly. Any judge that has been in a courtroom for any length of time, and I know that you listen out there, any lawyers that go to court with any sense of regularity, if you are involving yourself in a jury trial, all of them tell me the same thing, that if a jury gets a case on a Thursday afternoon, they're damn determined to wrap it up by Friday afternoon. I promise you that, because they don't want to be there Monday morning. And if you have a long Memorial Day weekend, then the fear of the judge, because he wants one outcome. He is not a fair arbiter in this case. He wants a guilty verdict. It is obvious that he wants a guilty verdict, and I have more on that coming up in a moment. And he knows he's going to be overturned on appeal. This guy's not stupid. He knows he's going to be turned over. He doesn't care about that. That's not the point. The point is to get Trump now, to perp walk Trump now. It is a travesty of justice what is going on, friends. And I do think it's a look, and I respect Hand's take on it, but as we were talking, I'm like, I don't know why I get so worked up about it. And Chris is like, well, I just laugh at it. And I get it. I understand that you laugh to keep from crying, but I get worked up about this stuff because I believe in this country. And if we don't have a judicial system that is equitable, for a long time we didn't, and it was wrong. And we recognized that it was wrong, and we repaired those wrongs. If Lady Justice is not blind, if we politicize our justice system, we are freaking finished. You think you'll win one election again? Anyone that talks off the reservation gets prosecuted by the ruling class, the ruling party. That's the way that third world countries work. That's the way that banana republic despotisms work. This is the way that they infiltrate the fabric of our government in order to destroy it. And they're doing it right in front of us in real time. So, yeah, I get worked up about it. I do. The judge in the case could have finished this up tomorrow and given it to the jury tomorrow afternoon. He did not want to do that for a specific reason. Because he knows if this case comes back to him with any speed, within a day, the odds are that's a not guilty verdict. And if he hands it to the jury before the Memorial Day holiday, those jurors probably have plans on the Memorial Day holiday, and they probably don't like the prospect of coming back next Tuesday. And I can promise you this. If they come back with a speedy verdict, that speedy verdict is not going to be guilty. And the judge knows it. And he knows it. And he just gets away with it. Because that's the way the system works. I see you, Mason. You don't have to. I promise you. I can see. I got it. I got it. Don't get me mad at you. Come after you. I know you're doing your. I know Mason was waving at me, guys. He's like, "Hey man, it's time to go to break."
Hey, guess what? I need you to stop. I'm
all fired up today, man. I'm fired up about this.
So, though.
I am upset about this, and I've got much, much more to say about it. I'll give you the highs and lows of the Michael Cohen testimony, exactly how he imploded upon prosecutors, and why it is a travesty that the judge in this case is not dismissing it. A summary judgment was due, and they did not get it. We'll discuss that in just a moment. Take your telephone calls as well. Much, much more to come on The Murphy Show. Just getting underway. Libertarian Lunchtime Hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy here. I mentioned J.K. and Erica Brister, owners of U.S. Pest. I want to spend a moment just by reminding you of this. They're great. I mean, they run a fabulous company. They get in there and they take care of business inside and outside of your home. They're going to protect your house and your property and your family from the bugs that can impact and affect you, whether it's outside, whether it's termite. By the way, I didn't know this. They have a video up on U.S. Pest on their Facebook page of termites eating wood. Did you know you can hear termites eating wood? They did. They put a microphone on it, and you can hear termites eating wood. U.S. Pest has it up on their Facebook, and it is not for the faint of heart. It's kind of gross. One way or the other, I'll tell you what, they're good people, and they're great Americans. They run a fabulous company. They treat their employees well, and they treat their customers well. It's what it's all about. It is truly the American dream. J.K. and Erica want to be your pest company as well, and I encourage you to schedule a free pest inspection by going to uspest.com. Find out what's going on in your home. They're not going to upsell you on anything. They're going to tell you what's happening. They're going to ask you questions about how you utilize your yard. They're going to get the bugs bugs and the pests out of your yard, out of your home, and you'll live a better life, a healthier life as a result. USPesta.com or 590-1260. That's 590-1260. It's in the 615 area code, of course. It's US Pest.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed
Super Talk
offer.
99.7 WT. Did you just see it got really dark in here? Some of the lights went off.
You're touching buttons you're not supposed to.
Well, no, but I am at the age right now, Mason, where you'll get here one of these days where
I don't want it.
No, you do. You want this in your life because
Okay.
I mean, my grandpa, God love him, God rest his soul. My pa said so many good things. I need to write a book. But one of the things I remember, he told me, boy, getting old's hell, but it beats plan B. There's only two options.
I mean, that's fair, yeah.
And getting old's hell. So when the lights went out a second ago, I immediately thought, am I going blind? Is something wrong with my personal vision? Am I losing it now? Anyway, so I apologize if you're watching on the Super Talk television side of things. We're on TV, Super Talk TV, up and running. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, episode 575. By the way, did you come up with a snazzy title?
I went with the alliteration thing again.
Yeah, what does it say?
Biden books and Biden today on the Matt Murphy Show.
I like that.
Yeah, it's nothing crazy, but I'm hitting my stride.
We're going to talk some local politics with repeat offenders. There was a great piece, and I'll give credit where due. Dennis Ferrier, is that right? Over at Fox 17 did a great piece on bond in Nashville and in Davidson County. We'll talk about that. Speaking of local politics, Megan Barry is back in business, apologizing for what she did in the past. And I'm curious to get a sense of where all of you are on Megan Barry. Did you like her when she was mayor? Before all of the stealing and the sucking of the taxpayer money to cover up or offer excuses to have this ridiculous affair with her security guard. Were you fans of Megan Barry? I feel like most of the listening audience would say no, but I'm just curious. I'm an open book because I was not here. Senator Ted Cruz and Senator Katie Britt of Texas and Alabama, respectively, are passing or attempting to pass some legislation that would seem like no-brainer legislation on the federal level. I have a few things to say about it a little bit later on in the show, and then just lots more to go. If you like baseball and you're excited about Major League Baseball coming to the Music City, you might want to sit down because I don't know that it's happening at all, and it's certainly not happening anytime soon. I'll give you the details coming up a little bit later on the show. In the meantime, your call, 615-737-9986. I want to get into how Michael Cohen's testimony has just blown up all over prosecutors in the New York trial. This is the guy that they had to have. He needed to do well. He withered under a cross-examination from Trump's defense team and exposed the complete ridiculousness of the case brought by District Attorney Alvin Bragg. We'll discuss those things coming up in just a moment. In the meantime, Anthony is in Nashville. Anthony, thank you for your call.
Well, I just saw a bombshell notification that I haven't had a chance to filter yet. Is it okay if I say it on the air or no? Or should I just come back later?
Okay, I need to I need to hear what you just said because I didn't understand it. You have a bombshell notification?
Yes, that just came through my phone about something that's related to the case, and it's I'm pretty sure it's verified, but I just don't know if I should say it before I run to you.
Wait, are you pretty sure it's verified, or I mean, well, what is? Go ahead and tell.
Verified.
Yeah.
Why do you start the notification where they said the unsealed filings in the classified documents case where the DOJ the FBI authorized the use of deadly force on the raid at Mar-a-Lago? I was like, holy shenanigans. This is insane. Sorry.
Wait, so you're saying that when the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago for the classified documents case that they were authorized to use deadly force if necessary?
Correct, yes.
Well, I'm sad to say that it doesn't surprise me, but it doesn't surprise me.
That shocks me. It's just a document. But again, you're right. It shouldn't shock you considering everything that's been going on, but my God, it sure shocks me.
No, it's crazy. I'm shocked as well. Some of the lawfare shenanigans that are happening, Anthony, with regard to Donald Trump are unprecedented. A lot of what's going on in the case in New York City, unprecedented. I thank God that you have a good enough case in that situation, in Judge Cannon's case, that she's carefully considering some of the appeals being made and some of the filings being made by the defense so that it will not happen before the election and it will not skewer the election in any way. More calls coming up and more diagnosis of what went down earlier this week during Michael Cohen's testimony. I'll give you my 4 takeaways coming up in just a moment. It's 12:32 Libertarian Lunch, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for my buddy Brink Fiddler and Defend Systems. It's a very serious matter when we're talking about defending your place of business, making sure that your church or your school is safe and sound, because it's a dangerous world, and it seems to be getting more dangerous on a daily basis. Cumulus Nashville utilized the training program from Defend Systems. It is a life safety and security consultation program. They specialize in physical security consultation and active violence mitigation. That's a fancy way of saying this. Brink will come into your facility and he'll examine the facility. He'll find out where some of the weak points might be, and he'll talk to management about shoring up some of those weak points. Then he meets with everyone on staff, and he talks to you about security design, about readiness for the possibility of workplace violence, about the possibility of something negative happening in the workplace and what exactly you should do about a workplace shooting possibility. Now, those possibilities in your workplace, Brink is not here to scare you. They're very low, but they're not zero. It's time to get trained. If you're a decision maker in a school, in a church, in a place of business, or any place that people gather, you owe it to yourself and you owe it to your employees, your friends, to call Defend Systems. DefendSystems.com can be reached at 615-236-6484. 236-6484. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Defend Systems. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. Dr. Gill and the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief has been around for well over 3 decades now. When Dr. Gill first came to Franklin and, by extension, Middle Tennessee, Nashville, in the area, there were a lot of technologies not available in this area that Dr. Gill brought himself. He was the first to bring spinal decompression into Middle Tennessee. And that has changed the life of so many people, yours truly included, because I didn't realize I had pain in my neck. I had pain radiating out to my shoulders. I thought it was stress-related. I didn't know what was going on, nerve-related. I didn't know. And when I sat down with Dr. Wendy, we talked about my lower back pain. I brought up my upper back pain, and she found 2 separate compressions that we worked on separately. But at the same time, I mean, there were separate things that we were doing, but we were doing them simultaneous to one another. And I don't have the pain anymore. Now, the lower back's a little bit more of a long-term issue, and it's something that I'll be consistently visiting with the Dr. Gill Center about. But the upper neck it's fine. The decompression technology, the spinal decompression has happened. I'm getting hydration. I am pain-free, and I have Dr. Gill and the Dr. Gill Center to thank. You could be the next success story. Give them a call and make an appointment today, 615-882-4838. 882-4838. It's the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. I'm just responding on the membersnutrition.com super text line. Hold on, hanging in there. I have one of my loyal haters. I got a lot of Murphy haters, and that's all good. One of my most loyal and long-term haters is 4850. 4850, I can see all of the messages that you've sent me over the years, and 4850 has long hated me. Every time I go on a vacation or take a day off, 4850 comes on the membersnutrition.com super text line and thanks the radio station for me not being there. Like, for example, in December of last year, I'll take you over Matt Murphy any day. It's been a pleasure having Matt Murphy not here this week. I hope that we hear from you a lot more. And then I announced that it was episode 575 today, and 4850 writes in, 474 too many. But he spelled 2 with, it should be 2 O's. I'm not trying to be a grammar Nazi here, but it's TOO many, not TO many.
Yeah, it sounds like he's wanting to add more days to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's
57-4.
574 to many, to beyond, to infinity.
Rank them up, add them on.
Yeah. Thank you for listening, 4850. I appreciate you picking up on the show. I appreciate you listening to the show, and I appreciate you hanging in there with us. I really do. I sincerely appreciate you. 615-737-9986. So both the defense and the prosecution have now wrapped up their cases, and I have a couple of things, and I'll get to your calls momentarily about this because I do think it's a very important inflection point in American history. We don't know what the jury will do. The judge is obviously attempting to influence them. The judge clearly is concerned about handing the jury the case on a Thursday when he knows that there's a long weekend coming up, and he's obviously concerned that if you give the jury that case right before a long weekend, they will want to conclude the case before the long weekend, and any quick decision made in this case, Judge Merchan is a liberal. Judge Merchan is a Trump hater. There's a reason that he has decided this case in the manner that he has all along. What with objections sustained, objections overruled, allowing this evidence, not allowing that. Not to get too much in the weeds here, but this is a judge, and you have to have a certain modicum of understanding of law and order. If you watch a little bit of Law and Order, you'll get this. In anything that the other side introduces, if it is allowed to be introduced by the judge, then the opposing counsel is allowed to speak on that matter. The judge can decide what he is going to allow and what he's not going to allow. But if he allows one side to talk about it, he has to allow every side to talk about it. Y'all with me so far? And so in cross-examination of Bob Costello earlier today, this was either yesterday. No, it wasn't yesterday. It had to be this morning. So Bob Costello comes on as a defense witness. He testifies. He basically says everything Michael Cohen's saying is a load of hooey. I didn't see that. I didn't hear that. This is what I saw. This is what I heard. This is what he said to me. And so on cross-examination, so now this is the prosecution trying to get Trump now cross-examining Bob Costello. They introduce a piece of information. I think it was an email. And they asked him to refer to that. And what does that say? And what is that all about? And he did. And then they shut him down. That's it. That's all our questions. And so as court trials go, you have direct examination. So I call a witness to the stand, and then the opposing counsel gets to cross-examine him. And if I want to, I get to do what is called a redirect, which means I've asked you all of my questions. Then the guy that's against you comes up and he's peppering you with his questions. That's cross-examination. And then I get a chance to come back up and kind of follow up with a few questions. Well, the cross-examination brings up this piece of paper. So I get to talk about it, right? And the Trump team stood back up and referenced the paper that was brought up by the prosecution, and they were immediately shut down by the judge. No, you can't talk about that. Well, the prosecution objected, and the judge sustained the objection. Do y'all understand why this matters? Am I being clear why this matters? The judge is allowing one side in the case to bring up information and then not allowing the other side to comment on any of that. That's not justice. That's not the way our legal system works. And Juan Merchan very well knows it, but he doesn't care because his TDS is through the roof. But even with all of that going on, even with him putting his thumb on the scale, did you know, for example, do you know who Bradley Smith is? So the entirety of this case hinges on the idea that Donald Trump did all of this falsifying of business records in order to take advantage of the election system, the federal election system. It has to be the federal election system because that's the election that he was in. He was in a federal election, not a state election. So the federal government has never charged Donald Trump with any election interference whatsoever, and they never will. They've looked they've completely examined the case, and they decided not to charge him with anything. This was Joe Biden's Justice Department. The federal government looked at the Donald Trump case, looked at what happened in 2020, looked at what happened in 2016, and they said, we're good here. There is no violation. Bradley Smith is the former chairman of the Federal Elections Commission. And the defense, the Donald Trump defense, wanted to call him to the stand to testify that it was determined that Donald Trump did not violate the federal elections laws. Seems like an appropriate witness, right? So you have the prosecution accusing Donald Trump of falsifying business documents for the furtherance of this random crime that they've not really described or put into detail. One assumes that this random crime has something to do with the federal election that Donald Trump was involved in. And so as a way to cut that off at the pass, the defense said, look, we'll call the federal elections chair and he'll tell you that we didn't violate any of these laws. The judge in the case would not allow that witness. Why? Well, that doesn't have anything to do with the case. It's at the heart of the case. It has more to do with the case than Stormy Daniels. It is an absolute debacle that we're watching. You present this script to Paul Wolf. Is it Paul Wolf? Fact check me, Mason. Law and Order creator. Just type in, just Google it, DuckDuckGo the thing. I think it's Paul Wolf. You present this script to Paul Wolf and he would go, this isn't believable. Nobody believes that a judge would be this biased in a case.
You're close.
Dick Wolf? Yeah. Dadgummit. I was worried that it was a different four-letter word. Most of the times when I'm thinking of a four-letter word, it does end in K. And this time I spit the bit.
Yeah, it's a fire truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even with the judge and his thumb on the scale, this has been an absolute disaster for the prosecution. Jonathan Turley, a legal analyst, a professor at George Washington University, and a voice that I very greatly respect, said that this line of questioning on the final day of questioning, the fact that Michael Cohen admitted that he stole money from the Trump Organization. How in the world? Cohen admitted that he stole money from the Trump Organization. He also told federal prosecutors about stealing money and was never charged with larceny. These are hits, Turley said, below the waterline for Cohen, but also for prosecutors. They had a man admitting to a larceny, but they never charged Cohen. They not only made Cohen their man in the system, but they also allowed him to keep the money. The man admitted to the federal government that he stole $60,000 from Donald Trump, and they didn't prosecute him. So he is an admitted liar and an admitted thief. Jeff is next in Hendersonville with a thought on this case. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, how you doing? Look, nobody, only a progressive could be a loyal hater. You're talking about your texter. But, look, at the end of the day, we know what the verdict is going to be. There's no way they would go down this road if it wasn't guilty. And they don't care what you have to say. They don't care what the law says. I got a chance to hear General William McChrystal speak. And that's the guy who Obama fired. But before Obama fired him, McChrystal had aligned all of the intelligence agencies to report directly to him. So the crux of his speech and the message of his speech, when I heard him, was how your enemy, our enemies, and a smaller enemy can exploit your operational curve. And that's exactly what the progressives are doing here. They don't care what you have to say or if you stand on the law. It's a foregone conclusion. I think it's to the point they're like, okay, what are you going to do about it? All done. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Jeff. I appreciate the call. What are you going to do about it indeed? 0550 says, jury nullification is when the entire jury votes not guilty, the evidence notwithstanding. A jury holdout is not nullification, but a finding of not guilty. Well, actually, that was from a couple of days ago. My bad. My bad, 0550. I was hating on you for a comment that you made 4 days ago. The comment from today was, what you're describing happens all the time. Happened most recently in my last jury trial, but we beat the offer, so it was a win. The only remedy is appeal and preservation of the record. Well, you're right, and this is what happens in our judicial system when a judge and a prosecutor realize that there are no ramifications with regard to appeal. They don't have to worry about appeal because this isn't about getting an ultimate conclusion that is favorable to them. This is not about jailing Trump. It's about preventing Donald Trump from becoming the next president of the United States. It's naked politicalization of our judicial process, which is what bothers me so much because it is what tin-horn dictators do in third world countries. But as far as jury nullification goes, I would say, I mean, it's close, but I would say that my take is slightly different on it. It's nuanced, but if I'm a jury in a marijuana case, as an example, I've long said that I do not believe in the criminalization of marijuana. I've held this belief for 25 years on radio. I've held it for really all of my life otherwise. I do not believe that marijuana should be classified in the same breath as fentanyl or cocaine or heroin or some of these other drugs. That's a different subject for a different day, and I understand that it's a deep subject. Trust me. But I use it as an example that if you get me on a jury in which, someone is found to have been doing nothing else wrong but had a bag of pot in their car, I know that a large bag of pot in your car is illegal, illegal, I-L-L, illegal in the state of Tennessee. I know that. I would consider jury nullification to be what I would do moving forward with that case. I would recognize that the law was broken in my mind and in my words, but I would not vote guilty. I would take a stand against the law itself. Is that working exterior of our judicial system? Yeah, I mean, I guess it technically is, but I would suggest that it is a valuable part of our judicial system in a lot of ways. 615-737-9986 if you have thought on this. For those who love baseball, I've got perhaps some bad news for you in the Music City. I'll describe what I mean coming up in just a few moments. Take more of your calls. Libertarian Lunchtime Hour, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We used to call him Mill Creek View, Tennessee. We now call him Heartland Journal. Steve Abramowitz is the same great conservative guy. He's the same great conservative advocate, and he runs a tight and great ship over at Heartland Journal. If you go to heartlandjournal.com, you'll see. I go over there from time to time, check out the news stories that are going on. I try to make it a morning event because there's new things popping up all the time, particularly on the podcast page. When Steve Abramowitz gets an interview, I absolutely love it. I enjoy it. He talks to artists and authors, cultural figures, entertainment figures, sports figures, and of course he talks a lot of politics on Heartland Journal. I'm on there on occasion. For those of you who might want to check me out, it's called Murphy's Law, and it's a monthly segment we do. You hear Steve Abramowitz often on our show as well. He's just a good guy and can be found on Deezer, iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, and all of your favorite podcast apps. I encourage you to go give Heartland Journal a listen and a view. Steve Abramowitz and Heartland Journal. Go to heartlandjournal.com. That's heartlandjournal.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Just put a note out to my good buddy Jay St. Clair, who's normally on Fridays, Friday segment at 1 o'clock on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, just asking a question. I mean, I'm asking as many individuals familiar with the courtroom as possible. Have you ever heard of this? I've gotten a number of judges, 2 judges to be precise, not a number. I know the number, it's 2. And several attorneys telling me that they've never seen anything like it. Have you ever heard of a judge putting a trial on hold like this before closing arguments? And why would he do that? You're wasting time. The defendant has a right to a speedy trial. Secondarily, are you not aware of what else is going on around you, Your Honor? Well, I don't care about that. Really? I bet you don't. Someone asked me the question, if for some reason they found Trump guilty, do we think that he would immediately perp walk Donald Trump? I think it's a strong possibility. I don't know that he would be forced to go into jail while awaiting appeal. I don't think that would last very long. I don't think this is going to last very long either. News and information, a couple of commercial advertisements, and we'll be back for 2 more hours of what I hope to be talk radio excellence on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. Now what? After the defense and prosecution wrapped up their cases in the Donald Trump hush money criminal trial in New York, closing arguments are expected a week from today. Prosecutors will try to, as lawyers put it, rehabilitate their main witness, Michael Cohen, a former Trump attorney. The defense says Cohen can't be trusted because he's a convicted liar. Prosecutors will connect Cohen testimony to physical evidence, says ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer.
They're going to have to try to rehabilitate that through corroboration, saying that, yes, Cohen has lied here, 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 and here. But on these instances, he is telling the truth because we have the receipts, so to speak. And for the defense, they've got to point at every lie and every reason why you cannot believe Michael Cohen and that this case rests on his credibility.
A show of political unity as the Secretary of State testified before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, all opposing the International Criminal Courts seeking arrest warrants to top Israeli officials, citing war crimes.
The top Democrat on that committee, the top Republican on that committee, and Antony Blinken all together said in various ways they reject that arrest warrant and the accusations made by the ICC. They said it was a false equivalency, among other things, to compare Israel to the leader of Hamas.
ABC's Jay O'Brien at the Capitol. In a break with Britain and the U.S., France says it supports the court's decision. One person died, dozens of others were hurt during unusual, violent, bumpy air during a Singapore Airlines flight today. Former Marine fighter pilot, ABC News contributor Steve Ganyard.
I guess the only positive thing to think about here is understand just how strong these airplanes are, how they're built to withstand this kind of turbulence. And the only time people really get hurt in turbulence is when they don't buckle their seatbelt.
The Biden administration says it's releasing 1 million barrels of gasoline from a Northeast reserve established after Superstorm Sandy to try to lower prices at the pump this summer. You're listening to ABC News.
From groan-worthy dad jokes to patching
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Your Health Plan Man and YourHealthPlanMan.com. Let's talk about what Your Health Plan Man can do for you with regard to your health insurance. It's as simple as this. Do you know you're getting the best coverage for the least price? If you don't know that, why not make a call to Your Health Plan Man and allow Pat Davis and his team to go over your current coverage and to see if they can get you a better opportunity anywhere else or even with the same company. Now, Pat Davis is not beholden to one insurance company, which is the advantage that you have with Pat. He works for you, not for an insurance company. Oftentimes, sadly, it's the case that the person you're talking to that claims they're going to get you the best coverage possible, they're only looking at a particular company or maybe two companies. Pat Davis looks at all of them. He examines the situation, makes sure that you're not getting covered for things you don't need, make sure that you're not paying for things you don't need, and he saves you money with the same quality or oftentimes better coverage than you're getting right now. Now, if you don't have health insurance, you need to call Pat Davis. If you are frustrated with your health insurance, you need to call Pat Davis. As a matter of fact, just call Pat Davis. He's YourHealthPlanMan.com. YourHealthPlanMan.com online or the call 855-475-2662. If you spell that out or, it's 855-4-PLAN-MAN. 855-4-PLAN-MAN or YourHealthPlanMan.com. What up is down, what's up is down, what's left is right, what's bad is good, what's black is white. It's the Matt Murphy Radio Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Glad to have you with us for hour number 2. Thank you for being out there. Whatever time you give us, we're certainly appreciative of it. We have 180 full minutes, and we try to maximize every single moment of it. 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. You can also reach us on the membersnutrition.com super text line at the same number, 615-737-9986. Many of you holding on. I'll get to you as soon as possible. I want to set this up. We were discussing the Michael Cohen testimony from the Trump trial and how what Cohen admitted to doing by stealing money in 2017 from the Trump organization, he admitted to a crime far greater than anything Donald Trump is accused of. Yet the prosecutors in the case, and no one, chose to hold him accountable for stealing $60,000, which he admitted to on the stand. So he's an admitted liar, he's a convicted liar, and an admitted thief. According to CNN legal analyst Eiley Honig, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, and I'm sorry that I don't, because he's actually been one of the brighter spots on #NeverCNN. I always say that I watch CNN so you don't have to. It is an occupational hazard for me. It is a garbage network for the garbage people spewing garbage for the most part. But Eiley Honig, how would you pronounce it? Honig? Honig? I don't care.
Honig is probably what I would go with.
Honig? Okay, sure. He called the new revelations a bomb dropped in the middle of the prosecution's case. According to analyst Laura Coach, she agreed and was surprised that prosecutors did not address this situation sooner in the trial to take the sting out of it. He admitted that he secretly recorded his own boss, did Cohen. The tape appears to undermine the case, as a matter of fact. Furthermore, he admitted that payments to Stormy Daniels was a legal contract, which, if it is a legal contract, I would make the argument then it is a legal fee to pay for a legal contract, and those legal fee designations are not falsified in any way. It was a blithering disaster on all counts, and it will hopefully lead to an acquittal of Donald Trump. We'll see. I am more hopeful of an acquittal than ever before. I think Judge Merchant in the case understands how likely that acquittal might be, in as much as he just decided to let the jurors go home and steep on it for a little while, trying to put his thumb on that scale. In the meantime, Joe Biden offered a speech over the weekend, and it sounded like Joe Biden was living in 1984. While Joe Biden was running around the country in 1984 with Robert Byrd talking about black people as super predators, remember that? And how he needed to eliminate the super predators on the streets of major metropolitan areas in this country. And that was Joe Biden in the 1980s. Now he denies any of that happened. He claims that he was a champion of civil rights during that time. Matter of fact, over the weekend, speaking with the NAACP, did he not say that he started within the civil rights movement at the age of 15? He did. I have this clip. There is no evidence. Allow me to repeat. No evidence that Joe Biden was in any way involved with any civil rights movement at the age of 15. Yet Joe Biden repeats the lie, and sadly, the media doesn't call him on it, or even worse, regurgitate it as the truth. Now, one could forgive Joe Biden of this because he's a doddering old man who's obviously got some dementia in his system, and he seems to live in a perpetual state of confusion. This is your president of the United States, everybody.
Let me close with this. After I signed the PAC Act into law, let me close with this.
What? Let's say it again.
After I signed the PAC Act into law.
You know what that reminds me of?
What's that?
And Joan Shingang, I'm going to pronounce right, Shanga Kawawa.
Do it again.
And Joan Shingang, I'm going to pronounce right, Shanga Kawawa.
Koala. Just to hell with it. Just say koala bear, be done with it. Koala. Looks like koala. Smells like a koala. Koala.
It's a koala. It's like you forgot how to say his L's.
This was this last night or this morning when he said this?
And by the way, I say to every young man thinking of getting married, marrying a family of 5 or more daughters. I did. My wife's the oldest of 5 sisters. You know why? One of them will always love you. Not the
What?
I don't.
What? What?
I don't like that at all.
What?
That sounds like a trustworthy guy.
By the way, I say to every young man thinking of getting married, marrying a family of 5 or more daughters.
Okay.
I did. My wife's the oldest of 5 sisters. You know why? One of them will always love you. Not the same one. One of them will always be on your side. That's the biggest advantage of marrying into 5 daughters.
That is not a joke. That is a natural fact.
On a more serious note, we can make fun of that, but on a more serious note, this was Joe Biden this morning.
In America, we leave no veteran behind. That's the motto.
Joe Biden left men and women behind in Afghanistan. Joe Biden is directly responsible for the death of 13 service members in Afghanistan. You're talking to someone who believed that it was time to get out of Afghanistan, that our purpose and our mission had been served at least as far as we were willing to take it, and that I did not believe that we needed to spill any further blood on Afghanistan soil if we were not willing to take the next step with regard to nation building. Because the people of Afghanistan, the tribal region of Afghanistan, they don't recognize the arbitrary lines drawn by that nation. And sadly, they don't recognize the blessings and liberty of freedom. And until they do, we cannot convince them to fight for something that they don't understand. And because of those reasons, I believed that it was time to leave. Donald Trump believed that it was time to leave. He was preparing us to leave in the right way. Maybe I shouldn't get so insulted because it happens with such regularity. But I am particularly insulted when Joe Biden mentions the name, broadly or specifically, of our veterans, our men and women in military service, when he seems to not care about them at all. The manner in which he left Afghanistan was designed for a reason, either through complete ineffectiveness and inability to do things the right way or for a specific stated purpose. One way or the other, 13 service members died needlessly. They're not coming home. You left hundreds, if not thousands, of Americans behind in Afghanistan for months. We had to see private individuals come to the aid of our fellow Americans by shuttling Americans home through privately funded air flights. We had to lift people out of Afghanistan because the United States of America left Americans behind. On your watch, Joe. On your watch. 13 heroes were killed in your botched withdrawal. You don't mention those men, do you, Joe? Too busy. Just recently, your former press secretary, Jen Psaki, who's now a talking bobblehead on MSNBC, said that it wasn't true. It was a lie that Joe looked at his watch. Joe most certainly looked at his watch when those service members came home to their final resting place. He was bored, tired, time to get out of there. I shouldn't be so insulted, but I am. But over the weekend, Joe's speech inspired me. It did. It inspired me to ask this question. Joe talked about a lot of things over the weekend, and it sounded like he was talking from notes that he made in 1985 or 86 or 87, even when he was running for president of the United States of America in 1988. Before he had to unceremoniously withdraw because he was found to be a known plagiarist, a serial plagiarist. And that was back in a time where that mattered and the media would actually report on it. But it occurred to me, given the talking points of the political left nowadays, I want to engage in an exercise, a fantasy exercise. Let's imagine an America where the Democrats are in charge and they get everything they want. I know, perish the thought, right? But just totally. Everything they want. What do you think that America would look like? If the political left got those things that they claim to want in the United States of America. What do you think, what first comes to mind? What do you think they would, what would this country look like? What would your city look like? What would Nashville look like? What would Tennessee look like? More importantly, what would some of our major metropolitan areas look like? I want you to consider this when you're talking to loved ones. Consider this as spring becomes summer and summer becomes fall. And we get closer and closer to determining our near and long-term fate as a nation. And ask what this country would look like if the Democrats had full and total control. They've got the presidency. They've got a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate. They've got a majority in the House of Representatives. Let's even say that they own the courts at this stage of the proceedings. They get everything that they want, all that in a bag of chips. What would the country look like? Well, you would see corporate and individual tax rates go through the roof. You would see a depression of the economy as a result. You would see less competition within our free market system as a result. One would presume that you would see abortion on demand. These are just thoughts off the top of my head now. Abortion on demand for every state in the union, regardless of what the citizens in those individual states want, and regardless of what the 10th Amendment has to say about it. You would see a lack of borders on our southern border because you want to infuse as many people as possible into the United States of America to, quote unquote, fundamentally transform it into socialism. You would see a defunding of the police in our major metropolitan areas as the Democrats have called for it. Who knows what that would look like, but it would certainly not be a more secure metropolitan area. It would be a less secure Nashville, a less secure Davidson County, a less secure Knoxville, a less secure Memphis because we're defunding the police. That's what liberals want. Obviously, none of us have guns anymore. None of us have guns anymore because the liberals don't want you to have guns. What is the ultimate goal of nipping around the Second Amendment to the Constitution? The only reason they don't go all in on it is because they know you will call them on it. Well, I'm telling you, in this fantasy world that I'm developing for you, you don't have the ability to do that. I want you to consider this. If you're on the fence on Donald Trump, if you don't like the way Donald Trump talks, if you don't like the way he acts, if you're concerned about Republican on Republican violence, if you will, political violence, that is, if you're worried about certain Republican policies, I just want you to consider for a moment, I beg of you, what would the world look like? More specifically, what would America look like if the Democrats were in total control? No gun ownership, because that's the goal. Abortion on demand, no southern borders, a defunding of our police departments around the country, corporate and individual tax rates through the roof, reparations. Democrats want reparations. They want to spend more and more and more and more of your money, and even money that we don't have, while they'll take more and more and more money from the private sector, from the free market. They'll also need even more money in order to engage in some of these social engineering activities. And with that in mind, they'll borrow against the largesse of government, I suppose. The idea of energy production in the United States of America is dead. The environmental whack jobs will absolutely take over. EV mandates will become the norm. And your internal combustion engine will become a relic of the past. Who cares if they actually work? Who cares if America's actually ready for it? And no matter what this does in terms of economic disaster, they're in control. Healthcare, forget about making your own healthcare decisions. It's now single-payer healthcare, ladies and gents. We have government-run socialized medicine in America, thanks to the Democrats. It's what they want. I'm not making any of this up. They have stated it's what they want. Any and all aid to Israel goes away. Israel, by all measure, would cease to exist because of a lack of support on the UN level by the United States of America. Hate speech laws will be well in effect. You have the right to say it as long as the government agrees with it, and if the government disagrees with it, they're going to make it a hate speech law, and they're going to prevent it. Churches, you're not protected anymore from that. You can't preach that homosexuality is a sin anymore in the church. You know why? Because the government says you can't. And if you do, you'll get locked up. You'll get arrested. Tell me how I am mischaracterizing the platform of the Democrat Party. Tell me. I'm listening. Steve and Dixie, we'll get to you in a moment. Your call's coming up as well. 615-737-9986 as we begin our exploration through, well, I would say Fantasyland. It's more like a horror show on Super Talk 99.7. There comes a point in our lives, men, where most of us are going to experience energy loss. We're going to experience maybe our levels changing within our bodies. And I know how you guys are because I'm the same way. I don't check my levels. I'm naturally predisposed to just rub some dirt on it and move on. But I know now, because I've learned it from the Tennessee Men's Clinic, Evan Bass and the rest of the gang at the Tennessee Men's Clinic have taught me this over the years, that there are some numbers that you gentlemen need to know. Your T levels are one of those numbers. You need to know what that number is. You need to know your blood pressure. You need to know your cholesterol. You need to know your T level, because it matters when it comes to energy levels. It matters when it comes to the bedroom. And half the men in this audience, there's no shame in this game, guys. Half the men in this audience are going to go through some of that at some point in their lives. And if that's you, what if I told you that you didn't have to go through it? What if I told you that there was a plan and a program available for you to get you back to life, back to vitality, whether it's in the bedroom or otherwise? The urologist at Tennessee Men's Clinic need to talk with you. Give them a call today. Schedule that appointment. Don't be like most guys and wait for way too long on this. Go ahead and tackle this head on, gentlemen. You'll be happy you did. 615-208-9090 is the number. 615-208-9090. Or online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. Did I hear Mandis correctly? He's like, hey, it's Dan Mandis in the morning and Brian Wilson in the afternoon.
That is correct.
Huh. Chopped liver the rest of the day, I suppose.
Yeah, he's got favorites. Are you surprised?
No. No.
I mean, let's be honest here.
Dan's one of my favorites.
I do like your show.
I like Dan a lot. You know why? He hired me.
I was about to say,
boss.
He pays you?
Pays me my money. 126 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What would the world look like? We're engaged in a little imaginary exercise. What would the world look like? What would America look like if the Democrats had total and complete control? Based on their own words. I've run down a few of them. I've written these down. These are the ones that I've written down. I'm curious what I've missed, if you think I've missed anything. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986, either via text or call. We would defund the police. Corporate and individual tax rates would go sky high. We would engage in political reparations for those claiming some sort of slave ancestry. You would see abortion on demand throughout the United States of America without regard for the 10th Amendment or for the individual states. You would see a precious little that individual states could do to blanch any of this because the federal government would overrule the states and centralize government in Washington, D.C. You would see an elimination to aid to Israel. You would see an expansion to the Russian engagement through Ukraine. We would essentially see a lack of border security whatsoever on the southern border. You would have a policy by which migration is a human right. You would have a policy by which housing is a human right. You would have a policy by which food is a human right. You would see resegregation. Liberals all across America are attempting efforts to resegregate society, engaged in black proms or LGBTQ graduation ceremonies, excluding no one but those who are white, and by extension, segregating the white population from the rest of the population. You would see no new drilling, certainly on federal lands, but otherwise I think that these green laws would extend to private property as well. Hate speech laws would be enacted across the United States of America, a direct affront to the First Amendment of the Constitution. Speaking of amendments, the Second Amendment of the Constitution, you can say bye. I believe that liberals, had they complete and total authority, would ban all gun ownership in the United States of America, and you would say single-payer health care or government-controlled socialized medicine. Those are the thoughts that I put down on paper during the break. Yours, 615-737-9986. Steve wants to talk about the trial in New York City, and he's been holding for some time. Hey, Steve, thanks for the call.
Hey, Brother Murphy.
Hello, Steve.
Hey, Brother Murphy, how you doing?
I'm great, Steve. I hope you are.
I'm glad you woke up madder than hell.
I am. I'm mad as a hornet.
It's time for people to stand up for America, we the people. And the guy that texts you about not listening to your show, we the people got your back.
God bless you, Steve.
And tell him all he has to do is turn his radio down.
Well, here's what I love. He's been giving me the business for months. He must listen every day, I guess. And so, look, I mean, if y'all hate me and listen, if you love, I want you to love me and listen. But if you hate me and listen, that's okay, too. You know, that's all right. It's all good.
Want to remind people what President Trump, and I get sick and tired of people on TV just calling him Donald or Trump or whatever. He's our ex-president, most powerful man in the United States. And he went without pay. He gave up his life for our nation. And we, the people, need to take care of him now. If his was happening in Tennessee, I believe they would just shut Tennessee down until they got the idea of we're not going to take it no more. After if they shut New York City down for about 48 hours, I believe that same thing would happen.
Well, one of the reasons, to the point that you're making, Steve, one of the reasons that I hesitate to talk about polling looks so good for Donald Trump right now. The American people seem so awake to the failures of the Biden administration. They seem so awakened to the desire to get Donald Trump back in the White House and to finish the job that he started during his first 4 years as president of the United States, or at least to move us down the road to finishing it, because it's going to be a long-term project. But let me tell you, we've got a long way to go before now in November, and I don't want to lose enthusiasm. I don't want us to rest on our laurels, because I promise you, the political left, they have yet to begun to lie, cheat, and steal their way into a victory this November, and they're going to try to do all of those things.
Yeah, they stole the last election. They absolutely stole it right in front of our eyes, and we didn't do nothing about it.
Well, I promise you, if we're not willing to do what it takes, you bring up an excellent point, Steve, and we need to start and Steve, I'm inspired by you. I need to start something on this show. I don't know exactly how this would look. We need to protect our polling places. We need to remind Americans that they need to volunteer to make sure that our polling places are on the up and up this election cycle. Because without that guarantee, I don't know what will happen. Nobody does. Many of you are coming in with ideas about if the libs controlled everything, what we will be. Well, I'll say this. I've seen several of you have made this comment, and I agree wholeheartedly with it. We'd be Venezuela. The liberals would explain to the rest of America that these are the people's resources and it's time to take back over the people's resources. And they would slowly take over the private means of production, whether it's through natural resources like forestry or coal. They would shut down fossil fuel exploration and expansion for the benefit of the climate. If libs control everything, as 1936 says it, we would have teenage trans men beating the hell out of our daughters in women's sports everywhere. You would see essentially the abolishment of female sports. $7712 writes in and says, I wonder if minor attracted persons would eventually become legal if Democrats had full and complete power. Good question. Right now, Jeff and Mason are waving at me in the other room. I know that they love me so much. They just wanted to say hello and remind me that they're there and in support of me, and also to tell me to do this. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So we've got this big event coming up at the Glock Store. Have you been to the Glock Store? If not, you need to stop by. Check it out today, tomorrow, next week. I mean, check it out sometime soon because they are the biggest, they're the brightest, they're the best at the Glock Store. They have an incredible manufacturing department over there. They've got the beautiful retail space. They've got the Shoot 270 rooms, not lanes, rooms. They have accessories. They've got clothing, and they've got guns galore, long and short, and they've got Glocks. I mean, you don't call yourself Glock Store with having that. Now, with that in mind, I invite you to be out on June 1st. It's the 4th annual open house, and it is, as the man would say, huge. We've got a lot of prizes to give away. I'm talking optics. I'm talking sights. I'm talking guns. There is a Glock that's being given away, a custom-made Glock. It's a $1,700 value. It could be yours free. All you have to do is register. You don't even have to be there to win. The Glock Store is located on Airlane Drive. That's just off of Elm Hill Pike. We're starting up at 10 o'clock in the morning. I will be there. Dan Mandis will be there. Chris Handis will be there. Don't tell Mandis, but I'm trying to get a dunking booth, and we'll put Mandis in it. And then maybe for charity, I'm working on this. Maybe for charity, put Mandis in the dunking booth, and then we'll throw balls at the little thing, and then Mandis gets dunked, and then we give $10 to, a charity of his choosing. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. Fun will be had by all. Ask Mandis about that in the morning, by the way. At the Glock Store's open house, Saturday, June 1st, starting at 10 a.m. We'll see you there. And by the way, there's only one. It's the Glock Store, glockstore.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Loud and proud, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. That's the radio station. You can also visit us on any streaming app of your choosing. If it streams news, music, or information, it streams us, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Take us wherever you go. You can also find us on Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Thank you for being a part of the show. Engaging in a mental exercise in which Democrats are in control, fully in control of the United States of America, how do you believe things would change? Well, per their own words, per their own language, a lot of things would change about this country, to include a lack of borders, a lack of energy or oil exploration. I mean, just there's a lot of things that we've been discussing. I'm curious your thoughts. What thoughts come to mind when I tell you that Democrats are in control? 8212 says there are no such things as maps anymore, only pedophiles and predators. Steve says, if liberals controlled everything, say goodbye to steaks, cheeseburgers, and the internal combustion engine. John says, if libs controlled everything, we'd be sunk and a part of the CCP. Another John, if Democrats ran everything, this country would be FUBAR. Roger says we'd be like Canada. 3820 says billionaires would be outlawed, taxed at 100%. You know, Bernie Sanders, that was a proposal by presidential candidate Bernie Sanders several years ago, 2016. He said that earnings should be taxed over a certain amount. I think it was like $1 million or something like that, that earnings should be capped at 100%. That taxed at 100%, anything above a certain level. What do you think would happen if that happened? Well, if I believe in the idea of men working for a living, women working for a living, for the purpose of doing well for myself, for my family, and my broader community, at the point that I get taxed at 100%, let's say that happens. Let's say I'm well off and I make a good amount of money. I don't know that it was $1 million bill, something around there. Actual proposal by an actual Democrat sitting in the United States Senate. Bernie Sanders. He calls himself an independent, but you know, he's a socialist. But he wants to tax income at 100% over a certain level. Well, what happens in July, for example, if I get to $1 million and I know anything I make beyond that $1 million will be taxed at 100%, that I'm literally working for nothing? What do you think I would do? Dickie is next. Dickie, thank you for your call. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm great.
Okay, so a couple things I'd like to discuss. I'm a healthcare provider, and we've been sabotaged by the rules and regulations of the government without any free will. Unless we conform, we cannot work. We have conformed, and we have had numerous coworkers come to long COVID because of it. What are our protections? When do we get to stand for our own self-preservation? We chose this profession because we want to help people, and we want to do well. But I feel as though the government is not allowing us to do what is in our realm of what feels good to us.
What? So you're a nurse? Did you say, Dickie?
Yes, I am.
I'm
4 years in the profession.
What specifically are you concerned about? You mentioned the government's intrusion into your business practices. What comes to mind when I ask the question, what specifically are they doing right now that's prohibiting you or preventing you from fully doing your job safely, securely?
Well, I mean, they found out the hard way that we're all going to leave unless they help us not to get the vaccine. So they've left us alone this year so far.
Well, I was going to ask,
But,
is that largely over, some of the intrusive way that they're trying to force you to do your job, or is that still ongoing?
Yes. Oh, yes. Because all they're able to hire right now is nurses coming out of college. There are there's nobody to teach them. There's nobody to help them because we've all left. I mean, I haven't, but they cannot hire anybody. And if you go into any hospital, don't leave your family member because you're going to be their patient advocate. There's nobody there to be their patient advocate.
That's great advice. You're right.
It's very disheartening. My husband is a pancreatic cancer patient. I didn't leave his side, and thank God I didn't. He's a survivor now, and I just feel like everything has changed. Like, we're not doing good anymore. We're not helping.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I'll say one of the biggest long-term dangers, and we saw in real time, and Dickie, God bless you. Thank you for your call, and you keep calling and you keep bringing it up, and I can tell that it's on your heart and it's on your mind, and I have such respect for what you do. Thank you for offering yourself up to service in the profession that you do in the way that you do. God bless you. Obviously, we now know that we were lied to in the beginnings of COVID-19. Immediately, sadly, the deep state, including the National Institutes of Health, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, other organizations, they ran into crisis mode. They went into self-preservation mode as opposed to trying to get information out to the American people. Anthony Fauci, if for nothing else, and there are plenty of reasons why this man should be in jail, if for no other reason he should be in jail because he well knew where this damn thing came from. He knew where it came from. He was the reason that the Wuhan lab was being funded by gain-of-function research by American taxpayer dollars. Rand Paul was on top of this situation. He was on him like white on rice, and the media just let it go. But he was dead on when he questioned him about what he knew and when he knew it. And Anthony Fauci stood before the American people, or as you know, you couldn't see him over the podium because he's so short, but he stood there before the American people and he lied. He lied to Donald Trump. He lied to everyone in Donald Trump's cabinet, and he lied to the American people. He lied to ruin Donald Trump. He lied to protect his own fanny. And people died as a result. He knew what the nature of this virus was. He knew why it was. He probably didn't know if it was intentionally or unintentionally released, but he sure as heck knew that it didn't come from any bat meat market. Yet there he was claiming, well, it might come from a bat meat market, and he knew it didn't come from a bat meat market. Why did he say that? To keep Americans away from the reality of the truth. That we were funding this ridiculous research that went on there that either intentionally or unintentionally led to an uncontrolled release of a man-made virus. He knew, and he let it happen. And as they went into crisis mode and began lying to the president, they began the process of attempting to seize control of the basic activities of the American public, the world public, for the purposes of our own safety. We don't know any better, they told us. And the biggest long-term ramification, obviously, people died as a result of those lies. Because I believe that people would have acted differently if we'd have known the truth at the beginning. Long-term, the government used the pandemic to test how much they could push us into compliance. How weak-minded, how weak in spirit are we, they thought to themselves. How willing are we to do whatever the hell they tell us to do, regardless of whether your common sense dictates to you that that's the way to get things done or not? So I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I'm sorry that your profession has gone the way that it has, and I appreciate the call. It's 1:50. You're listening to Super Talk 99.7 WT, and I promised you the baseball story, and I will get to it. Also, what does Representative Jasmine Crockett have to do with the state of Tennessee? We'll talk about that story coming up in just a couple as well. This is a big story. Cardi B regrets voting for and supporting Joe Biden. So I don't know if she's coming on over to the Trump train or not, but a lot of African-American voters have decided to do so. It's 1:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Why not go on over, if you're near a website or someplace where you can browse the web, go on over to Craft Body Scan, spell it with a C, craftbodyscan.com, and see the Craft Body Scan difference. They have a location right here in Nashville, Tennessee. They've been a company since 2017 and have been in Nashville for just over a year now. They have an extraordinary deal on their couple's heart and lung scan in honor of National Skin Cancer Awareness Month, which is this month. $119. That is a 96, you heard me correctly, 96% savings. $119 will get you a heart and lung scan for you and a loved one. That's a pretty big deal. They want to introduce themselves to you. They want to talk to you about the advancements in CT scan technology and how they can catch something long before you'll feel it. They catch it inside of your body, and you know, timing is everything when it comes to diseases and issues happening within your body. Tell them that Matt Murphy sent you to Craft Body Scan. When you make the call and make the appointment, you don't need a referral to do this. They'll sit down, have a health consultation with you. The scan actually takes only about 5 to 8 minutes. It's not invasive. You don't have to take your clothes off or anything like that. It's all good at Craft Body Scan. Go to craftbodyscan.com or 615-436-1000. 436-1000.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Jonathan Turley is in the courtroom for a hearing that is going on the Trump matter, where counsels on both sides are determining how exactly the judge in this case is to charge the jury. And Merchant is consistently ruling for the prosecutors and against the defendant in this case, Donald Trump. It is fascinating, to say the least. In the meantime, we'd love to hear from you, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. I've got this baseball story coming up in just a moment. I don't know, maybe I'm reading this wrong. Our resident sports aficionado is Mac Morey, who's about to deliver the headlines for you. And I might be able to impress upon Mac Morey to offer his thoughts on the possibility of Major League Baseball in the city of Nashville, especially considering recent developments that the Music City Baseball organization has kind of had a schism. They've had a falling apart. I'll tell you what that is in just a moment and see if that gets us closer or further away to baseball in the Music City. We'll do that next. It's 2 o'clock, time for Mac Morey's newscast on Supertalk 99.7 WTN.
Two o'clock, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories, and we got a scorcher out there in Middle Tennessee today, 88 degrees, that sun flying high here on Music Row. Complete weather forecast 2 minutes away. A social media post by the Trump campaign taken down after being on the True Social site for 18 hours has been slammed by the Biden camp as being anti-Semitic. Karen Travers has reaction from Vice President Harris and President Biden.
Vice President Harris criticized former President Donald Trump for posting a video referencing a unified Reich if elected, calling it, quote, appalling.
This kind of rhetoric is unsurprising coming from the former president, and it is appalling. And we got to tell him who we are.
Asked for his reaction, President Biden told reporters, quote, it would take too long. Former President Trump deleted the social media video that referenced that phrase, unified Reich, after critics said it mirrored that of Nazi Germany.
And here in Tennessee, a decorated Fort Campbell soldier has been identified as a homicide victim in Clarksville. The body of Katia Duenas Aguilar was discovered in her home on Tiny Town Road. Anyone with information or video footage asked to call Detective Hofinga at 913-648-0656. Duenas Aguilar joined the Army as an information technology specialist in 2018, was honored with 2 Army Achievement Medals, the Army Good Conduct Medal, the National Defense Service Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, and the Army Service Ribbon. And an alternative weight loss drug sends one company's stock price soaring. Derek Dennis.
Hims & Hers Health, the company behind the men's sex performance pill Hims, announcing a new injectable weight loss drug to compete with Ozempic and Wegovy. The company says it will offer a $199 per month compounded form of semaglutide with the same active ingredient as Ozempic and Wegovy to help customers avoid shortages and the high cost of the originals. The FDA has warned against patients using a compounded form of semaglutide because it does not review those drugs for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Still, Hims & Hers stock jumped nearly 30% on the announcement.
And that is the latest news. Weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Dr. Stephen Paas and the TMJ Solution Center, they want to see you. The Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center can provide you relief. They can provide you a better night's sleep, and you can do so without the need for a CPAP machine that so many of us don't have the ability to wear. I've told you my personal story with Dr. Paas. I was unaware that I had sleep apnea. We talked about some unrelated matters, and he said, have you ever had a sleep test? And I had not. I engaged in a sleep test, and despite the fact that I did not snore as much as most who have sleep apnea, it was discovered that I had mild to moderate sleep apnea. And so now I have an incredible appliance from Dr. Paas and the sleep apnea team, and it has changed the way that I sleep. I sleep better. I wake up more refreshed. I don't feel the need for copious amounts of caffeine every morning to get myself going. And I'm telling you, folks, it's going to help with my health. Not treating this can result in high blood pressure, acid reflux, memory fog, and so much more. Get to your sleep apnea. 25% of adults have sleep apnea and they're not aware of it. Get a sleep test and get with Dr. Stephen Paas and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. It's in network for your insurance, so you don't have to worry about that. And they have 2 convenient locations to serve you. One's in Brentwood, the other in Murfreesboro. DrPaas.com, DRPOSS.com, DrPaas.com for more information about Dr. Paas and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Right now in New York City, the defense and the prosecution are arguing in front of the judge how exactly he should instruct the jury when the time comes next week. For some reason, he's not continuing the trial this week, despite the fact that by everyone involved's account, they could finish up with closing arguments tomorrow. He could instruct the jury tomorrow. The jury could have the case as early as Thursday morning. He has decided not to do so, and he's holding off until next Tuesday. I believe that is for a specific reason, and that reason is to help the prosecution. Similarly, he is helping the prosecution at every step of the way in terms of jury instructions. Everything the prosecution wants, they are getting, much to the chagrin of the defense, who says that it is incumbent upon the prosecution to prove certain aspects of the crime, including willfulness or the willful nature of the crime. That's just an example. And the judge in the case said, no, I'm not going to say that. Well, the law says you have to say that. Well, I'm not going to say that. It's these types of things that indicate to us very clearly that the judge has put his thumb on the scale in this case, and we'll cover it for you like the morning dew. 615-737-9986 is our telephone number, 207 in the afternoon on this Tuesday edition of The Murphy Show. So if you don't know, there is a general feeling that Major League Baseball is on the way to the city of Nashville and to the greater Middle Tennessee region. There was an organization that was put together many months ago, if not years ago, called Music City Baseball, which is trying to do just that. And by all accounts, by people who know far better than me, Nashville is one of the 1 or 2 top cities to receive an expansion team should Major League Baseball move from 30 to 32 teams. Now, I bring in our resident sports expert, Mac Morey, who knows as much about sports as he knows about the news, and he knows a lot about the news, so consequently, I would say that he knows a lot about sports as well. Mr. Morey.
Yes, sir.
Is it a fact that Major League Baseball has stated as a purpose of theirs over the next several years to expand from 30 to 32 teams? That's going to happen,
That's
right?
inevitable.
Yeah. It makes sense. It makes sense to have 16 teams in each league.
Yep.
It makes perfect sense.
More money.
More, yeah, obviously. Is Nashville not one of the 2 or 3 top communities being considered for an expansion team?
Yeah, I'd argue top 1, but if not 1, it's 2.
Okay, so I mean they're right there. Yep. So what is necessary to make all of that happen? I can think of one thing.
Stadium.
Money.
Oh,
money.
Money.
Right?
Stadium,
right?
they can build where Nissan's going to get torn down. They can build there.
And see, I don't think that's in the plan, though, right? I mean, they could and make a big sports district, but I think the plan for that property is to build a big open-air green space leading to the river from the I think that's what they're trying to do. at least the plans that I saw. One thing that I saw, Jeff, was that they're considering using property on the TSU campus, which is, more north and west?
Yeah, you can go, I guess it would be the same way you go to the stadium and just you got to keep going.
Right.
So it's kind of in the venue. But I just thought, when I first heard about it, I'm like, yeah, that's the best place to do it. It's a licensed print money. Nashville is right now because everything has become successful. Even the Arena Football League team is doing well. So it makes sense. But I always thought putting it right next to the football stadium would be the best idea just because it's around everything. But that could work too.
Well, you better get off the schneid and do it now. Now, maybe that's why they're putting the green space there in anticipation of possibly changing or altering plans and making that a space for a baseball stadium one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have money for any of this. And here's where I would say that if you're a fan of the idea of Major League Baseball in Nashville, we're either getting closer or further away, and I'm going to lean on further away. And this is what I mean by that. Dave Stewart was a major voice in all of this. He was a part of the Music City Baseball group, former Major League Baseball pitcher, 3-time World Series champion, former Major League Baseball general manager, and has been working as an advisory in an advisory capacity with an organization called Music City Baseball. Stewart has now announced, according to the Tennessean, a recent article there, that he has parted ways with the group and did so last November, citing, quote, philosophical differences and decided to pursue a venture on his own. He said he remains committed to putting down a diverse ownership group to bring a Major League Baseball expansion team to Nashville, and added that he has financial backing to privately fund the $3.5 billion price tag that it would take to do so, something that apparently Music City Baseball does not yet have. Music City Baseball managing partner John Lohr called the group's approach to funding the endeavor more agnostic than Stewart's. Stewart said that first and foremost, he puts diversity at the front of everything that he does in terms of raising money. According to Lohr, he told the Tennessean last week, Dave is very specific in putting an ownership group together. Diversity was really his focus on it. It made more sense to part ways because he would like to have more involvement and more control over that than go do that, which is something that Stewart ultimately decided to do. So now you have not one group, and this is getting to my question. Now you have not one group that is pushing this idea, but apparently, according to Stewart, who claims that he's got a lot of money lined up, you have two groups that are separate and apart from one another that are both attempting to accomplish the same goal. My inclination is that that takes us further away from Major League Baseball coming to the city of Nashville, not closer. I mean, but heck, maybe this is something that will bring us a lot closer to the idea. In a statement emailed to the Tennessean last week, according to Music City Baseball spokesperson John Crisp, he said his group's focus is on, quote, building community support for the Nashville Stars brand and its strong association with the historic Negro Leagues, moving forward with a real estate objective for a future ballpark, and developing a local foundation to a diverse ownership group that we will continue to build upon. I guess what you have to do, first and foremost, you have to find the tip of that spear in terms of money. You have to find the face of the money side of the organization. And those people have yet to come forward. I mean, you've got to find the, what's her name? Amy
Adams Strunk.
Amy Adams Strunk. You have to find the Amy Adams Strunk. You have to find the John Ingram of this deal.
Where are the pockets?
They don't have to fully fund it. I don't think you're expecting anybody to cut a check for $3.5 billion or whatever the heck it would be. But you have to get a large hunk of it from someone who's going to be the face of the ownership group. And I've yet to see that. I've just yet to see it.
I mean, we saw some serious money get piled together for this new Titan Stadium. I mean, over $2 billion from area leadership.
I mean, but what is see, that's the thing, though, Mac. I think therein lies the difference in attitude between football and baseball.
I agree.
I think Nashville is willing to accept a baseball team. They're ready for it. They're willing to support it. I'd go down to games. I'd love it. I'd go down to the Sounds. I mean, I think it'd be great. Do you want $500 million of your tax money going to it?
No, I'll go to a Sounds game. I mean, you know what I mean?
Right?
Hot dogs taste the same. I'll be fine.
Right. So therein lies the difference, I think, between the fact that the Titans already exist and we feel like we need to keep them by keeping up with the Joneses in terms of facilities is one thing. Asking us to contribute from the state or from the local level hundreds of millions of dollars for the construction of a stadium, I don't think the people would go for it.
There is something crucial, though, to that Titan Stadium, though. Concerts, Super Bowls, national championships, WrestleManias, all these other huge events that bring money into the city, that also adds to that. Baseball stadiums don't really add that compared to football stadiums.
Right. I mean, you could get in a normal community, you get 2 or 3 or 4 big concerts coming to baseball stadium, but you don't need that. You've got we've got that. We have
every venue.
We're
fine there.
Yeah, we're good. We got Bridgestone and whatever. I mean, you got plenty of venues to do all of those things. So I don't know. You add to this the idea that amongst the younger generation, and I'm talking to 2 younger generation folks, to people of the younger generation, is baseball. Where's baseball on your list? Jeff, where's baseball on your list of things, sports that you enjoy?
So my number 1 is football. I would say baseball, maybe second or third. Hockey is moving above it. I think hockey is really hot right now. I would say second or third tier, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Are you putting college and pro football together?
If it's college, then it's lower because it's football first, college football second, college basketball third, baseball fourth.
What about you, Maury?
Yeah, every college basketball and college football variation is above, women's and men's. And then I'd put hockey above it. I'd turn on a lacrosse game and watch that whole thing before baseball.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, man. And I don't think I'm alone on that. I'm not saying I'm a majority by any means, but I think a lot of my friends would feel the same way. Now, if we're going to a baseball game, yeah, that's fun. That's great.
I believe, I think that television has done more to kill the game of baseball than anything else. Because if you watch a game on television, and I'm not telling you baseball aficionados anything you don't already know. If you watch a game on TV, you think it's a pitcher and a catcher and a batter, and that's it until the ball is struck. There's a lot more going on than that. And you don't see it, and you don't feel it. And baseball is a game that is played at a different pace, and the world doesn't work at that pace anymore. And it takes an effort to get out of the pace that we are now geared in 2024 to live in order to kind of return to that place. It is nostalgic in its nature, the pace of the game. And sadly, I don't know that the younger generation has not lost that ability to go back. Hey, I can hey Jeff, kill your mic there so that we don't listen to Mason on the screening. I appreciate you. So 17 after the hour, your thoughts, if any, on this issue. Dave Stewart says he's in regular contact with the commissioner's office. He added that the former Tennessee governor and soon-to-be Nashville Predators majority owner Bill Haslam met in December during winter meetings in Nashville. The potential baseball team might be years down the road, but Stewart says there's plenty to do in the meantime. He wants to help build communities, wants to help support HBCUs such as Tennessee State. The possible stadium location might be over there. Wants to improve youth baseball programs as well. And obviously, Music City Baseball Club is doing everything in its power to see a team come. Is this something that you would be interested in at all? 615-737-9986. 1063 says it's different for you guys in the South. Baseball's bigger in the Northeast and elsewhere in the country. I don't know. I mean, baseball as a television product is non-existent. They are so all over the board in terms of how they present their television product. It's next to impossible. I'm a Braves fan. It's impossible night to night to know where the Braves are on TV. I mean, obviously, I know where they are physically. Nashville Soccer Club, soccer's on the rise big time, says 51-43. You're right. I don't deny it. World Cup in the United States of America in 2026. I get it. I'm an antiquated sort in as much as I would put a lot of motorsports above baseball in terms of my fandom. I mean, NASCAR would be probably in my top 3 or 4. I mean, if you split up college and pro football, it's college and pro football and probably motorsports after that. I mean, but I'm a goof when it comes to what I consume from a sports arena standpoint. And I mean, I like watching golf on television. I also like taking naps. 19 after the hour, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Quick timeout. Your calls, your thoughts. 615-737-9986. I just believe this puts us behind the 8 ball, not the baseball, the 8 ball when it comes to the challenges in front of us. When they start splintering, then you start having problem. Tim says NASCAR is not a sport. Well, Tim, you're wrong. Everyone's entitled to be wrong, and you're welcome to be wrong as well. I can, you call me and I'll challenge you on that. 615-737-9986. It's The Murphy Show on Super Talk. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy, the Safe House. Mark and his team at Nashville Safe House want to remind you that we live in dangerous times, friends. And those dangerous times sometimes call for preparedness and security within your home. You want to protect those things that protect you and your family. And you do that with a gun safe from Nashville Safe House. Now, they also have corporate safes, jewelry safes. Protect your valuables, your property, your sentimental items through a safe at Nashville Safe House. Corporate guys, if you need a safe for your facility, they've got one to suit your needs at Nashville Safe House. Obviously, gun safes are always sales tax free at Nashville Safe House. You never pay a dime in sales tax on those gun safes. Thank you to Nashville Safe House. They have the one for you. They have a selection unmatched, not just in our region, but in the United States of America, and that means the world. Nashville Safe House. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com or on the road on 4th Avenue South in Nashville, just across the street from City Cemetery. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only Nashville Safe House. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Russia beginning tactical nuclear exercises, and we've got crime in Tennessee, a tourist stabbed. 2:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
No, it's bad. I've also got a report, and thank you, McMorey, for that. I've got a report of this flight. There was a report yesterday from a radio station out of Memphis that a flight was coming into Memphis from New York City with illegal aliens on the flight, and I have not found confirmation. Several of you have asked me about it. Our good friend Todd Starnes is over at KWAM, I guess it is, that initially reported the news. Yeah, it's KWAM News Radio 1990 out of Memphis. You're home for. I mean, Todd Starnes. I believe Todd Starnes was the source of this report initially, and the report was that there was a jetliner, quote, filled with illegals that took off from LaGuardia. And I've not been able to confirm any of that, and I don't like to pass things along that I have not at least independently verified. This was from yesterday, and several of you have asked me about it today, so I make comment on it. I have now accidentally fallen into the what is and is not a sport conversation.
What was it?
I got all of these people telling me that, I mean, it started with Tim. I mean, and Tim's he's such a loyal listener to the show, and he's a good friend of the show. He's a FOTS, F-O-T-S, friend of the show. Tim is a FOTS. But he's like, NASCAR's not a sport.
No.
Is NASCAR not a sport?
Stop that.
It's a sport.
I don't like NASCAR, but it's a sport.
I mean, of course it's a sport.
Come on, stop that.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, please.
No, Tim says NASCAR's not a sport. Sports require athletes.
Oh, man.
What? NASCAR drivers aren't athletes?
I'd love to see him try.
There's a lot you have to do to be like physically fit to drive that car that fast.
I mean, come on. He also said hunting's not a sport. The other team doesn't know they're playing. Well, I would agree that hunting is hunting, which is a little bit different than a sport. But sport shooting is a sport, right? Like shooting competitions? And he said, no athletes. That's a leisure activity. Also says golf is a leisure activity. To which I said, you are off your nut. But he gave us tennis, which is nice. Great. And then he went on to define athlete, a person who is trained or skilled in exercises, sports, or games requiring physical strength, agility, and stamina. If you don't, Tim, you're sounding like a moron. I mean, I know you're not a moron. You sound like a moron. If you don't believe that NASCAR drivers do not require physical strength, agility, and stamina, then I don't know what to tell you. You're just not watching.
The physical toll you have to put yourself through to go that fast for that long, and it's like flying a jet, like a jet in the Air Force. It takes that much toll on your body.
And by the way, by that definition, Tim, I could point to you to a lot of so-called athletes on football teams that don't seem to demonstrate a lot of agility or stamina. Some of those offensive linemen don't fill 2 out of the 3 criteria that you just presented me. You said you got to have strength, agility, and stamina. Well, offensive linemen don't have a lot of agility or stamina. Are they athletes? Anyway, 615-737-9986. Jeff's in Lawrenceburg. Hey, Jeff, welcome to the Matt Murphy Show. Hope you're well.
Hey, great show. Thank you for having me. You got lost in the what's a sport thing there. So
I know. I'm deep in the weeds with Tim. So get me out of that, Jeff. Let's talk.
Listen, back to the baseball in Nashville. We've never had a pro baseball team here. We have to travel forever to go see one, and my family and I went to Atlanta not too long ago, and it's fantastic. And I would say that if we actually had one, it would be a lot more popular and higher on the list than you think it is.
Wait. Say that again, Jeff. I lost the second half of that.
I'm saying if we had a local team, a Nashville team, that it would be higher on your list than you think it is.
Well, I mean, I've loved the Atlanta Braves. Mine is there's a lot of nostalgia involved in my love for baseball, and I still love baseball a lot. I've been a Braves fan since my grandmother taught me about the game when I was a kid. My grandma was a huge Atlanta Braves fan back in the Dale Murphy, Bob Horner, Chris Chambliss, Bruce Benedict days. So I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying that if for us in Middle Tennessee, we have to travel forever to go see a major league game.
Well, that's true. That's true.
And so it's not right in front of us.
I do believe Tennessee. I believe the state and I believe our region would certainly support a Major League Baseball team. I agree with you.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they'll get an opportunity. I mean, you got to get a lot of money. It's going to take more than just butts and seats. Initially, it's going to take a tremendous amount of money to get that sport started, or at least to get Major League Baseball to come to this community. So we'll see if that happens. Larry is next in Clarksville. Larry, hope you're well, buddy.
Hey, brother, I've cheated the reaper, man. I'm still here to aggravate you.
Yeah, I love it.
First of all, for MLB to come to Nashville, John Ingram is going to have to figure out a way to make money off of it, and that's the only way it will come here, sadly. And we know how much he loved Nashville when, he did his best to do away with the racetrack in Nashville. And then...
Still trying, too, by the way.
I know. He is a sorry POS. And if he wants to come to my door and talk to me about that, we'll talk about it. If Tim thinks that NASCAR is not a sport, ask him to ride backseat in an F4 to dogfight mission. Those NASCAR drivers have to do that to sit in that darn car for 600 miles in some races.
I understand that there's gray area. I understand that, there's a subtle gray between games and sports. But I just feel like you're being intentionally antagonistic and almost, dare I say it, and once again, Tim's a good friend, dare I say trollish when you suggest that NASCAR is not a sport. I mean, any competitive activity that may or may not require me pooping on myself in order to achieve victory, my favorite, will always be my favorite NASCAR story, is that I think this was at Martinsville. I forget where it was. Real quick. Tony Stewart in the lead.
Yes.
Stomach bug, big time.
Ooh.
I mean, constantly complaining about his issues on the radio, to the point that they said, man, if you can't make it, there's no shame. Come on in. We'll get you some relief. You can get on in here. You go, no, I'm going to try to fight it out. And then he's complaining. And at some point, with about 50 laps to go, he just stopped complaining. Stopped talking altogether on the radio. Won the race. Then they, instead of going to victory lane, which is tradition, drove his car straight to his hauler, got out of his car, went into his hauler. About 20 minutes later, came back out of his hauler with a different suit on and went to victory lane. Woo! Everything's fine. It's all good. It all washes off, everybody. It's 2:31 on Super Talk.
.232, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 88 degrees, a steamy day here in Nashville. Weather forecast just a couple minutes away. Russia kicking off tactical nuclear exercises. NSA Lacatera has more from the foreign desk.
The Russian Defense Ministry saying its forces have kicked off the first phase of exercises, which will simulate preparation for the launch of tactical nuclear weapons. The drills were ordered by Russian President Vladimir Putin in response to what he says are security threats coming from the West. Analysts say the drills are meant to act as a warning signal meant to deter NATO countries from getting any more involved in Ukraine.
And staying back here in Nashville right now, a suspect in custody for allegedly stabbing a tourist in the neck because he wouldn't give him money back on March 31st in Walk of Fame Park. Channel 4 says investigators spent a month talking to witnesses and going over surveillance video before arresting 33-year-old Gerald Sanford late yesterday. That's the latest news. Weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hey, friends, Matt Murphy for USS. That's United Structural Systems, folks. They've been your trusted source for information and correction with your crawl space and your foundation and your waterproofing for over 30 years. And now I am proud to announce that USS is providing mold treatment for you and your family. Perfect timing with all of the rain, the humidity that we've been having. If you've noticed musty smells in your home, if you've noticed increased allergies or respiratory issues, God forbid, then you might have mold in your crawl space. Mold spores can travel up into your home, into the air that you breathe. Let's turn your crawl space into a healthy space with United Structural Systems, their complete microbial growth treatment. They call it the RTE solution. Remove, treat, and encap, because it does no good to remove the mold if you don't do something about it, because that mold is just going to come right back. USS knows this. They've seen it time after time. They care about their customers, and so they're providing a lasting solution with complete mold treatment services and a lifetime warranty. Now, through June 30th, get $500 off the purchase of any RTE mold treatment from USS. You've got to call before June 30th. Right now, as the humidity increases and the mold in your crawl space gets worse, make the call to USS, United Structural Systems, and ask about their RTE mold treatment. Tell them I sent you. USSTN.com or 615-488-7855. 488-7855 for USS and this incredible mold treatment discount. USS, United Structural Systems. There was a time not so long ago in this world, in this country, where if I told you that you had been diagnosed with colon cancer, that had meant that you're already symptomatic and it could be a death sentence. Well, now we have preventative screenings that prevent colon cancer from being that. Prostate cancer is in the same thing, is in the same vein. Breast cancer as well. And I want you to do the things necessary to prevent these issues that might present themselves in your body from becoming worse than they need to be. And that's what Craft Body Scan is all about. These are good people that get results with regards to finding out what's going on inside of your body. And odds are, once you do your CT scan, your heart and lung scan for $119 at Craft Body Scan, which is a 96% savings, then they'll give you the thumbs up and tell you you're A-OK. You'll get your board-certified results of the findings, and then you're off you go. I mean, you've got that peace of mind, and you don't have to worry about it. But if they do detect something, they're doing it early enough where the odds are you're going to be A-OK just fine. 615-436-1000. Schedule this today. It's $119 for you and a loved one, you and a spouse, you and a brother, sister, someone that you love can come along with you. Craft Body Scan makes that available to you. CraftBodyScan.com. That's Craft Body Scan. Spell it with a C.com. Or 615-436-1000. 436-1000. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, just putting a bow on this conversation that we fell our way into. I just saw an expert running down the hall, or walking slowly down the hall, in the form of one of our stablemates over at our sister's radio station, 104.5 The Zone. The one and only Ron Slay.
He's in the building. He's in the building.
He's in the building. He's in the building. Now,
Let's go.
I would suggest that, one, this car ain't got no roof. And number two, I'd suggest that Ron Slay is an athlete. He engaged in a sport. I think we can all agree on that, right? SEC
SEC Player of the Year, baby.
Player of the Year.
Come on.
In basketball.
Go Vols.
Played for I don't know how many years over internationally in Europe, et cetera, and now is a co-host of 3HL on our sister station over at 104.5 The Zone. And I saw him walking down the hall, and Slay and I are tight. He owes me 2 cigars, by the way. 2. I don't know if anybody...
He probably has them on him. You could
remembers that, but Ron Slay bet me a cigar the first year I was here that Tennessee would beat Georgia. Did not happen, did not pay off. A year goes by, and Slay says, "Oh, Murph, hey, Murph, let's just do double or nothing, Murph."
Yeah.
That's my Ron Slay impersonation.
That's solid.
That's pretty good, right?
Bad, yeah.
Come on, Murph, double or nothing. Okay, I did double or nothing. What happened?
38-10 or something.
38-10.
Yeah.
And then nothing. I got no double. I got nothing.
I should have next year triple or nothing.
I should have
6 this year.
I should have double, and I have nothing. Anyway, but I don't hold that against him.
Sounds like you do. Just a little bit.
So I asked my man Ron Slay if he believed NASCAR was a sport. And I thought his answer, and I have to clean it up a little bit because he said a couple of curses. But I think his answer is tip top. If you have to get your butt off the couch during the off season, it's a sport. Okay.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
It explains everything.
Absolutely.
If you've got to keep your body up during the off season, then what you are engaged in is a sporting activity.
Yeah, I love that.
I love that. It's a great standard. And by the way, if you want to win in NASCAR, I promise you, you're keeping your body up during the off season. There might have been a time where that wasn't the case. There might have been a time where you could let yourself go or whatever. But I promise you, they're not doing that nowadays. So there you go. There's the
chess is out. Video games out. You're not.
Those are not sports.
Okay.
Those are
just making sure.
I mean, those can be very competitive gaming activities.
Yes.
That is not diminishing the competitive nature. The more difficult one, and this is going to sound funny to y'all because I think golf's a sport.
That's
I think golf at the top levels is a sport.
Yes, absolutely.
So, what about bowling? I'm talking about top level competitive bowling.
Who do you think you are? I am top level bowling.
It sounds stupid, but I mean,
I would say yes. I mean. Yeah, I think you got to work out your wrist and your tendons in your hand. I mean, I think that's a thing.
I think in this, I mean, we were doing so well, and now we're making Tim's argument for him.
Exactly. Tim's sitting there going, "Thank you,
thank you, and there we are." Yeah. But I mean, some people limit it to just ball and stick activities.
Yeah, which isn't fair.
And I don't think that's fair at all.
No.
I think you need a tremendous amount of hand-eye coordination when it comes to
Yeah, we could. I mean, like darts,
bowling,
cornhole. Like, okay, I don't know. We're entering a bad territory.
Darts. I mean,
I know.
Darts is a game.
That's a game. That's a game. That's a game.
but you gotta
accuracy. Cornhole. Probably not.
Please stop saying cornhole.
I don't know. I practice cornhole on the weekends.
See, excuse me, Mason. See, Mac, why I asked you to please because. Do you now? Fair. You practice?
That's my bad.
Yeah.
You get off the couch and practice the cornhole
exactly.
during the off season?
That's right. I had to get off the couch to do that. I'm just lobbing from the couch.
If you can hold a beer in one hand while you do said activity, I don't know if it's a sport.
When I go out on the golf course, it is certainly not a sport. It is a leisure activity.
You're hanging out.
I mean, but if I go out to the batting cages, I'm not practicing a sport there either. I'm just enjoying myself at the batting cage.
Exactly.
So say, I think I can hold a beer in my hand for both of those as well. So I mean,
that's fair.
I'd like to see it.
Actually,
it's a one-handed swing. It's not great, but I could do it.
Yeah, you could make it happen.
It's possible.
Speaking of activities, we need to go out to Topgolf.
Oh yeah, you could.
Have you been?
I love Topgolf.
Once,
I'm awful at it, but I'm
very bad.
It. I'm still waiting on the. Is disc golf a sport, McMurray?
I would say disc golf's definitely a sport. I would.
Okay.
Those guys at the top level, for sure, athletes.
Yeah.
Okay. And disrespect it. He's disrespecting it. It's fine.
I didn't disrespect it.
The silence. The silence spoke volumes.
I didn't poo-poo. There was no poo-poo. There was a quiet,
I was avoiding it on purpose. Yeah, exactly.
If darts is a sport, what about curling? All I know is that if you can slide the rock on the and then the scrubber and the thing, you can win the gold medal. That's all I know. I mean, if it's in the Olympics, it's a sport, right?
Oh, that's it. That's it.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean,
is that it?
They practice in their off season.
I guess.
I mean, for 4 years up until the point.
Maybe Heather has a thought on it. Heather, what's going on? How are you? Hello, Heather. Uh-oh. Says Heather's here. You got Heather up? You got her ready to go? Heather.
Yeah.
Hey, Heather.
How you guys doing?
Hey, doing well. I hope you are.
I'm great, and I just love you guys. I love your show, and I agree. Cornhole bothers me, too. Anyway, I wanted to talk to the whole idea of pro sports in Nashville because I came out of Denver back when they were just the Broncos, and the Nuggets. But you couldn't pay people to get to take Nuggets tickets back then, And they talked about building a new stadium, and they talked about building Coors Field, and everyone was all about it. They said, yeah, because they were driving down to Colorado Springs to go to, minor league games, and they were going to Predators games, or not Predators, Grizzlies games instead of Avalanche games, and the city was just primed. You could feel it, kind of, and Nashville feels the same way, and so yeah, they built that course. They built Coors Field, and it was blockbuster. We had the Blake Street Bombers until the Braves came and bought all of our good, all of our good guys. But there was this nostalgia period of the Blake Street Bombers, Coors Field opening. It revitalized the city in a way that the stadium didn't, because the stadium was across the highway. And but we'd get off work and we'd walk over to a Coors Field game. And it was such a great addition to the city. And then once they saw the success of Coors Field and its sold out games year after year after year, and the excitement about going, not just to the Super Bowl anymore, but now about going to the MLB, to the big game, to the big show or whatever they call it. And so, and then it was like, so when they wanted to build Nuggets, a new arena, they were like far more, they thought, it wasn't such a big ask tax-wise, because the city knew at that point, based on the building of Coors Field, that they could bring how much money it was bringing in and how much of a success it was, and that the tax, the penny tax, because it was all about the penny tax, right? And what's a penny tax? That's always the question. And so, it was such an important part of building that city and bringing it to where it is now. And I know there's so many sports fans here. It would be such a success to bring in a pro, hockey team, a pro basketball team, a pro baseball team. But out here, it's so hot. You would have to build a dome or something. I don't think you could suffer a doubleheader in this type of heat like today. Like nobody would want to go. So, thoughts like that would definitely come into play. But I'm all for it. I say do it. I think I've seen it succeed, and I think it can succeed here. Absolutely.
Heather, great call. Thank you. Succinct, compact, self-contained. I chose not to say a word during the call after you made the comment about cornhole. I'm proud of myself because I don't know that I could guarantee what did or did not come out of my mouth. 249 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A couple of subjects I want to get into unrelated to whether or not, I don't know, exact. Thank you, Tim, for subdividing the audience yet again into what is or is not a sport. I understand it's an evergreen topic. I mean, because you can go down this rabbit hole. I mean, is wrestling a sport? Most people would say yes. Is sumo wrestling a sport? Is being fat and immovable a sport?
Hey, there's a lot of muscle under that.
Is there?
There is.
It just seems to be 600 pounds of flab to me.
I don't know. It takes some muscle to move that from another person. I'm just saying.
Just imagine you're the guy that has to wrap that thing.
Hey, that sumo wrestler doesn't need a wheelchair down the tarmac. I'll tell you that.
Nor would he get one from me. Let's see. Slimy Gavin Newsom has now reneged on his promise not to raise taxes to cover the state's multi-billion-dollar deficit out in California. The ease by which they do these types of things are oftentimes amusing, considering that we don't live out in California. It's just who Gavin Newsom is. Earlier this month, the governor repeatedly pledged that he would not raise taxes to solve his budget crisis, which comes just 2 years after he boasted a nearly $100 billion surplus. Told reporters the answer is no should Democrat lawmakers bring a tax hike proposal. I don't see there's real evidence that we need that right now. Well, he's now considering a tax increase in order to solve the budget crisis that exists in the state of California as we speak. In the meantime, I mentioned Representative Jasmine Crockett. Tennessee Star has a great piece on this. You can check it out at TennesseeStar.com. Representative Jasmine Crockett claimed in a 2020 interview, now she's a Democrat from Texas in the 30th district out there. She claimed in 2020 that she and other black students were the victim of hate crimes in 2002 while they were attending a college in Memphis, Tennessee, Rhodes College. Crockett told the Darling Society in September of 2020 she was the victim of a series of hate crimes at Rhodes College that required the university to enlist the help of the Cochran firm. The Cochran firm, that's the Johnny Cochran firm, to assist the college in adjudicating the issue. My junior year, I became the victim of a series of hate crimes along with a handful of other black students, claimed Crockett. The school didn't know what to do. They brought in the Cochran firm. They helped me out. However, the Tennessee Star has contacted Rhodes College to seek details. No response. Has contacted the Cochran firm. No response. Has contacted anyone and everyone to offer a contemporary report over the alleged hate crime in 2002 that supposedly happened. No evidence that this ever occurred. Democrats got it good, baby. They never get called out in their lies, and they lie repeatedly about things that they claim to have happened to them in their regular life. More coming up with Brian Wilson. We'll check out what Brian's got going on the drive this afternoon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Putting a bit of a capper on our latest discussion on what is and is not a sport. 3425 says, the definition of sport is an activity that takes physical exertion and skill. I'm a professional drinker. I can drink 16 beers and a couple of shots, even smoke a joint. I still get out of bed in the morning without vomiting. Congratulations. You're an elite athlete, 3425. Speaking of elite athletes.
Oh, yeah.
And also speaking of Brian Wilson.
Right.
What's up, Wilson? How are you, man?
But not me. No, not I'm
You're a cicada.
I'm an armchair athlete.
You're a cicada killer out there.
Well, I tell you, it's just irritating. I went down to Lebanon today and washed my truck this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I got back to Watertown, it was bugified.
Why did you do it? Why did you waste the money?
Because I can't stand a dirty truck. That's
I admit that I did the same thing. I've got one of those near me that I pay the monthly fee.
Yeah.
And probably shouldn't, but I do. And I try to take advantage of that, especially during cicada season. So I've been going in once a day when I get home, just for no other reason than to just wash it off.
Did you hear? I mean, I don't want to give it away because I'm going to tell the story in the 3 o'clock hour.
Mm-hmm.
But cicadas apparently have a very revulsive habit.
I think I've heard this. I'm going to give it to you. I'll let you do it, but I think I know. Yeah,
that's the highlight of the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I know what it is, and if that's the highlight, it's a pretty good show on tap.
Yeah.
What else is going on then?
Well, the Trump trial, both sides have rested. They're working on the instructions to the jury, but the jury won't actually hear the case until after Memorial Day. They won't actually start considering the final arguments until after Memorial Day. 8 days they're going to be out there. So that gives Trump some time to go campaign. We'll talk about how the 2024 campaign is shaping up. I have some really interesting numbers about where independents are, and it's surprising. And then also a story that I'm going to do in the 5 o'clock hour. A guy named Christopher Mellon has written a very interesting article about how we are having a lot of our military bases are being having incursions with drones and not UAPs. We don't think they're from other places. We think there may be our enemies in the world. Whoa. And they're doing it with impunity. It's scary.
On the way next, it's Brian Wilson in the Drive right after the news with Mac Moore. That happens now. See you tomorrow, folks.